What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, the house is done. Well, pretty much. There's still a ton of little bitty things throughout the house that I've still got yet to do, but these are things that we were anticipating that we were going to be doing after we moved into the house. But the bulk of the work is done, and we're moving in next week, as a matter of fact. So let me take you inside. So, big trusses are up. If you haven't seen that video, them things going up, you got to check that out. That was a hell of a couple days. Anyway, so those of you that have watched the original video that I did for being an owner builder and the things that you need to know, thanks for watching that. It's got a lot of views on it. I mean, I'm not up in the millions or anything, but it's definitely the highest viewed channel or the highest viewed video that I have on my channel. So thanks for watching that. And if it's giving you the motivation to start looking into building your own house, definitely I say go for it. But this video is one that you need to watch as well, because this one is a follow-up to that and some lessons learned. So something I get asked a lot, and I've got this question from the bank, I've got it from Help You Build, I've got it from the mortgage company, I've even got it from insurance agents that I'm just getting quotes on this house with. The topic just happens to come up is, would you do this again? And the answer is undoubtedly yes. I would do this again. However, there are a few things that I would definitely do differently. So the first thing that bit me in the ass is how you pay your contractors. Now, when it comes to paying the contractors, this goes one of two different ways, or there's two different types of work being done. There's fast work and then there's long work. So fast work, say like floors, paint, drywall, things like that a crew of, say, 3 or 4 guys is going to knock out in a few days, maybe even a week. Generally, you're only going to pay those guys once the work is done. Very seldom are you ever going to pay for materials up front and then labor at the end. The only thing I could think of that you would do something like that would be your material for your framing and your concrete. Those are big ticket items that most companies do not want to pay out of pocket at the beginning of a job, so they put that on you to get that stuff taken care of. But that's a little bit beside the point. That's not really the focus of this point. The point is don't pay for work that hasn't been done. So, say for example, the foundation. These guys came in, they started doing their grading. Now, we had already set up with these guys that they were going to get paid in milestones. So what that means is they came out and did the grading, they did the forms. Once all the forms are up, they got a check. After that, started the bag work and the fill work inside the form walls. Once all that was done, they got another check. This continued with the rebar and then the final finish and pouring of the concrete itself. So all in all, I think there was 4, maybe 5 checks throughout the entire process of the foundation. And they're pretty good sized checks, but they got paid after the work was done. So then when it came to the framers, we had a discussion at the very beginning, right before they were going to start work, about how they wanted to get paid. And the general contractor running that crew had said, well, we'd like to get paid, weekly. And I said, okay, I'm cool with that. I didn't have any issues doing that. We had a good rapport. I had many conversations with the guy. I had met him several times, and he had excellent reviews from people in the area that had used him before. And so I didn't have any problems paying him weekly. These guys were going to be out here for a very long time, possibly 2 to 3 months framing this house. And then they still got to put these trusses up. So the trusses alone was a separate check that was specifically written into their bid. So I had a pretty good feeling that everything was going to go smooth from the get-go. So getting them paid weekly, that's how we went. So they get started, the work's being done, they're moving along real fast, and every Wednesday of every week, I'd get an invoice from the general contractor, say, hey, the guys have done X and X amount of work, here's the amount, get in a draw. So I get that invoice on Wednesday, I would put together a draw request to the bank, get it approved, get these guys paid, by Thursday evening or Friday sometime, and then the general contractor could pay his crew before the weekend starts so they can have some money for the weekend. So everything was going great until it came to the end. Once we had all the trusses up, the roof decking was on, and just about everything was starting to get buttoned up, and they were finalizing the last little details of the house. I came out here on a Monday morning, and they're gone. There's no tools, no air lines, no extension cords, nothing. They're gone. And it didn't freak me out at first, because there were other days that they didn't show up because they got pulled on another big job in the area, then they needed extra guys on for a day or half a day, and they would scoot over to that, and they would come back the next day. No big deal. So Tuesday comes around, they're still nowhere to be found. So I try to call them, see where they're at. Can't get a hold of the framers. I called the general contractor. He hadn't heard from him. He tries calling him. He can't get a hold of him. This went on for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, nothing was being done in this house while me and the general contractor are standing there with a thumbs up our butts wondering, where did this crew go? They completely ghosted both of us. Come to find out, I wasn't paying attention to how much money I had paid these guys, and I had just about exhausted the funds allocated for framing, and they knew it. So stuck me in a really difficult position, stuck the general contractor in a difficult spot because he doesn't have any framers anymore, and I can't get any work done. So what do? So we talked back and forth, and I decided that, you know what, I'll just go ahead and finish out the stuff that needs to be done myself. It wasn't that much stuff, at least I thought. It turned out to be a hell of a lot more stuff than I had anticipated. Some of the biggest ticket items, or one of the hardest things to do, was the soffits at the front and back of these porches. And they're 30 feet off the ground. So I was like, I'll just get a bucket lift and call it a day. Well, the bucket lift costs money. It takes time to put these things up. It's setting the project back. So what I should have done was told the general contractor, hey man, this isn't my fault. You need to find framers to come out here, finish this job. That isn't how it happened, and that's what I should have done. So the second thing here that was kind of a lessons learned is getting very, very, very detailed about everything that's going into this house and making sure that you have got a line item or a contractor or something that covers all of those details. Case in point, baseboards. Finishing the inside of the house from paint out, that's something that I knew that I was going to do from the beginning and that I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to do it at the beginning, not so much at the end, but that was something that I wanted to do. Now, I thought, okay, you know what, there's a lot of baseboards in the house, but I didn't actually measure how much baseboard was going to take to do this job. It turned out to be like $5,000 worth of trim going into this house. That's no labor. So if you don't get detailed about how much of these small kind of details are in a room, how are you going to pay for these things, right? So that's something you need to do at the very beginning. So before you even get started with anything, and you're still working on getting bids together and getting that proposal together for the bank, visualize yourself in every room of the house and go floor to ceiling, corner to corner, write down every little detail about that room and be very, very meticulous about how you do this. And do this for every room in the house. Okay, and then group all that stuff together by trade. So what stuff the finish carpenter going to do? What stuff is the flooring guy going to do? And paint and electrical and yada, yada, yada. When you start getting bids for all of these different things, make sure that each one of those contractors' bids has those details in it. If it doesn't, you need to ask them, hey, I think you forgot about something. Or if you're going to be doing it yourself, make sure you know how you're going to be paying for these things. Because at the end of the job, if you're doing all the finish work myself, say like you want to do floors. Well, okay, there's floors, there's the material, then there's glue, then there's sandpaper, and then there's nails. And there's a lot of little bitty expendable things that if you're doing multiple trips to Home Depot, nickel and diming you to death, it can add up to thousands of dollars if you're not careful. So get detailed about these things, get it written down and have some kind of way of paying for it. Either it's the contractor doing the work or you've got funds in your draw and it can, you either do it as a line item or you could add it into your contingency. Make sure you know how you're paying for all those kind of things. All right, so the last thing that is really, really critical to getting a house finished and keeping it moving without any big hiccups is having a handyman. So, for example, apart from my framers not finishing the job, there were things that weren't done properly or weren't done at all for framing. So say, for example, this corner right here where this transitions from the ceiling to the wall, there's a 2x4 there. Well, that wasn't there when the drywall crew got here. And I didn't know it. It wasn't something I was paying attention to. I was focused on everything else that I had to finish up in this house. So the drywall crew gets going. They're like, hey man, this isn't gonna work. You need something to go here. If I hadn't have been capable enough to cut a 2x4 and put it in there and keep the drywall crew going, they were gonna have to leave and come back on another day when it was done. So if they leave, now you gotta call your framer or somebody else to come out and do that thing. And then you gotta call your drywall crew to come back out and finish the job. So depending on how heavy the work is in your area, like say out here, there's like 10 subdivisions going up within about 3 miles of this place. So there's all the framing crews and all the other contractors, man, they're just booked up. So it could be 2 or 3 weeks before you get that drywall crew back out here to finish your house. And in the meantime, you're getting further and further behind on your timeline. So a handyman pays their weight in gold for this kind of stuff because it keeps these trades moving. Now, so a handyman, as far as that guy is concerned, it could be yourself. If you're, if you're a good DIY person, you got a good set of tools. A framing hammer, a framing nailer is maybe not something that you have to buy, but if you're going to be doing a lot of that kind of thing, it's going to save your bacon as far as your shoulder is concerned. But if you got a basic set of tools, you got a hammer, you got nails, and you know a little bit about how stuff like this needs to go in, you should be good. Otherwise, find somebody find you got a good neighbor that you're good friends with, and the guy knows how to do this kind of stuff, and he's got the time to be out here, holler at him. Otherwise, hit up the yellow pages, Google, find a handyman that's local in the area that can be out here at the beginning of some of these trades, because it's really going to save you when it comes to these kind of problems. So the very last thing and last piece of advice that I can give anybody that's watching this is, there's a lot of DIY people out there, including myself, and, we think looking at a project that far down the line, like, oh yeah, I can do paint, I can do backsplash, I can do tile, all these things that you can do. Sure, you may be able to do those things, but what I didn't anticipate was how much work it was going to be. And it is a ton of work. And it took a lot of time. Hell, just doing the floor took like a month and a half. It's just not something you think about at the beginning of something like this. So I would, unless you are in a real jam for money and you don't mind stretching this project out to a year and a half, I would strongly advise against doing a ton of the work yourself. Pick one, maybe 2 things. You want to do paint? You can do paint. Paint's actually one of the things that I would recommend doing yourself. It costs a lot of money to paint the inside of this house to pay somebody to do it. We painted it for a fraction of the cost, and it only took us like 3 or 4 days to paint everything. And this is really high ceilings in here. So, I bought my own airless sprayer, and we went out and bought our paint, and we got the job done. So that's one area that I would recommend that, do yourself. That's a good DIY project, and it's not terribly difficult to do. So do that. The rest of the stuff, leave to the professionals. Please do yourself a favor. I've done all this kind of work before, but I've never done it in an entire house before. So unless you're a professional carpenter or finish carpenter, tile guy, something along those lines, and you have got the tools, the know-how, more importantly, the manpower to get this kind of job done, don't do it. Just pay somebody to do it. Don't overpay, but yeah, pay. It'll save, the money you spend will pay for the headaches you don't get. So with that, guys, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. The previous video to this has been hugely successful on the channel. I'm knocking on the door of like 5,000 views, which I know in the world of YouTube isn't like a lot, but for me, just kind of getting started in this thing, I'm all giggly about it. So thank you so much, guys, for watching that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. I do have more videos planned for catching everybody up from the framing and the truss raising to this point of the house. Now, admittedly, I didn't get to take a whole ton of video for this stuff because I was under the clock trying to get a lot of stuff done. So I didn't bring out the camera all the time to videotape a lot of this stuff. I took a whole ton of pictures, but not a lot of video. So, and I didn't even have time to edit anything. When I got home at the end of the day, I was done. I didn't want to do anything but sit on the couch and just Netflix and chill. So, so forgive me for not having all that kind of stuff together for you guys, but content is coming. So, and in the meantime, if you are not, if you're not following me on Instagram, go check me out there. I've got pictures and video, little small video clips from start to finish of this whole place, and that'll fill a lot of little gaps between the videos and kind of keep you guys going. So, anyway, again, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.